There are places on this planet that most people will never see. Not because they're dangerous, not because they're expensive, not because they're secret. Because most people don't know they exist. The maps are complete. Every corner of the Earth has been photographed from space. Every mountain named, every river traced. And still, the planet hides things. Places so extraordinary that when you finally see them, the only thought you have is, how did I not know about this? 14 of them, waiting. Sandwich Harbour, Namibia. Look at this image. Your brain tells you it's wrong. On the left, the Atlantic Ocean. Waves crashing, cold, gray, enormous. On the right, the Namib Desert, the oldest desert on Earth. Sand dunes 300 meters tall, burning orange, bone dry. And in the middle, nothing. No beach, no gradual transition. The dunes simply end at the waterline. Orange sand falling directly into gray ocean. Sandwich Harbour, on the coast of Namibia, where two of Earth's most extreme environments collide without warning, without compromise, without either one giving way. The dunes here are among the tallest in the world. Some reach 300 meters. And they move. Every year, pushed by the wind, the dune field advances toward the sea. The ocean pushes back. Neither wins. The border shifts. Sometimes the dunes advance. Sometimes the sea claims them back. The landscape changes every single day. Flamingos feed in the shallow lagoon where fresh water seeps through the base of the dunes. Seals swim in the surf 20 meters from dry sand. Pelicans dive where desert meets ocean at the exact point where one world ends and another begins. There is no road here. You reach it by 4x4 across the dunes themselves, or by boat. The access closes daily with the tide. Most people who visit Namibia never come here. Most people who come here cannot believe what they're looking at. Socotra Island, Yemen. It looks like someone drew trees who had never seen a tree. A thick trunk, then nothing. Then at the very top, a flat umbrella of branches. Like a mushroom, like something from a Dr. Seuss book, like a tree designed by someone who understood the concept but missed all the details. These are dragon blood trees. They exist on one island in the Indian Ocean, Socotra, and almost nowhere else on Earth. The island has been isolated for so long, cut off from the Arabian Peninsula by rising seas millions of years ago. 37% of its plant species exists nowhere else on the planet. Not similar species, not related species, not found anywhere else at all. The dragonblood tree gets its name from its sap. Cut the bark, and it bleeds red, deep crimson red. Used for centuries as medicine, as dye, as violin varnish, as a magical substance by people across the ancient world who had no idea where it came from. They knew it was Socotra. They just couldn't get there. The island sits in the path of the Indian Ocean monsoon. For 3 months every year, it is completely cut off. No boats can land, no planes can fly. The island disappears behind walls of wind and rain and becomes entirely itself again. The people who live here have a language spoken by no one else on Earth, a face that is distinct, a culture built around this specific island and no other. There are 60,000 of them, living on an island that looks like it belongs on another planet. Salar de Uyuni, Bolivia. In the wet season, it rains on the salt flat, a thin layer of water, a few centimeters deep. Covering 10,582 square kilometers of pure white salt. And the result is the largest mirror on Earth. The sky reflects perfectly. Every cloud, every color at sunrise, every star at night. You stand on it, and you cannot see where the ground ends and the sky begins. Above you, sky. Below you, the same sky. In every direction, sky. You are not standing on the ground. You are standing inside the sky. Salar de Uyuni, in the Altiplano of Bolivia. 3,656 meters above sea level, the largest salt flat in the world. A prehistoric lake that dried up 10,000 years ago, leaving behind 11 billion tons of salt. In the dry season, the surface is pure white, cracked into perfect hexagonal tiles as far as the eye can see. The same geometry as the Giant's Causeway, the same mathematics, just salt instead of basalt, and 10,582 square kilometers instead of a coastline. In the middle, Isla Incahuasi, a coral island that was once the seafloor of the prehistoric lake, now surrounded by salt instead of water, covered in cacti, some over 1,200 years old, growing 1 centimeter per year, standing 10 meters tall, on an island of coral in a desert of salt at 3,600 meters altitude. Nothing about this place follows the rules. Strokkur Geyser, Iceland. Every 8 minutes, the ground exhales. column of boiling water shoots 30 meters into the air. Just like that, without warning, without buildup. One moment, a calm blue pool. The next, an explosion of steam and water that reaches the height of a 10-story building. Then silence. Then the pool refills. Then, 8 minutes later, again. Strokkur, in the Haukadalur geothermal area of Iceland, one of the most reliably erupting geysers on Earth. A geyser is not a hot spring. It is a very specific system, a deep crack in the earth, filled with water. The bottom of the crack touching superheated rock. The water at the bottom reaching 120 degrees Celsius, but unable to boil because of the pressure of all the water above it. Until something shifts, a tiny change in pressure, and the superheated water flashes instantly to steam. Expanding to 1,500 times its volume in a fraction of a second, forcing everything above it up and out. 30 meters into the air, in less than a second, from a pool that was calm a heartbeat before. The word geyser comes from the Old Norse word Geyser, to gush, named for the great geyser nearby, the geyser that gave all geysers their name. Iceland sits on the mid-Atlantic ridge, the exact line where the North American tectonic plate and the Eurasian tectonic plate are pulling apart. At the rate your fingernails grow, every year, Iceland gets slightly wider, and the geothermal activity that powers Strokkur gets slightly more intense. 8 minutes, then 30 meters, then silence, then 8 minutes. The earth breathing, on a schedule, whether anyone is watching or not. Antelope Canyon, Arizona, USA. At noon, on certain days, a beam of light falls into the canyon. Not scattered light, not ambient glow, a single beam, straight down, through a crack in the sandstone 20 meters above. Landing on the canyon floor like a spotlight, like something placed deliberately by someone. The walls of Antelope Canyon flow like water. Smooth curves, deep orange and red, layer after layer of sandstone worn by flash floods over millions of years into shapes that look sculpted by human hands. But they weren't. They were sculpted by water, rushing through this narrow crack every monsoon season. For millions of years, wearing the rock smooth, cutting deeper, leaving curves where you would expect only angles. The canyon is barely wide enough to turn around in. In some sections, you can touch both walls with your arms outstretched, and above you, the sandstone narrows further, a strip of sky sometimes only a meter wide. At midday in summer, when the sun is directly above, the light drops through that strip and the effect is electric. The beam is visible. You can see it as a solid column of light standing in the dark canyon. The Navajo call this place Tse Biganilini, the place where water runs through rocks. They have known about it for centuries. Tourists found it in the 1990s. Now it requires a permit and a Navajo guide. You cannot enter alone, because the same flash floods that carved these walls still happen. Every monsoon, the canyon can fill in minutes with no warning from above. The most photographed canyon in the American Southwest, and one of the most dangerous, both at the same time. Landmannalaugar, Iceland. They look like they've been painted. Specifically, like someone with too many colors and not enough restraint painted them. Yellow sulfur mountains, pink rhyolite ridges, green mossy slopes, black lava fields, red iron-stained gullies. All in the same view, all touching, all real. Landmannalaugar, in the highlands of Iceland, a geothermal area where the ground is warm to the touch and hot springs bubble from the base of the hills. The colors come from chemistry. Each mineral leaves a different stain on the rock. Sulfur, yellow. Iron oxide, red. Chlorite, green. Rhyolite itself, pink and gray. The lava field at the entrance is 500 years old. Still black, still sharp, still so raw it looks like it cooled last week. Walk across it toward the hills, and the landscape changes every 100 meters. Black to green, green to yellow, yellow to pink. A color palette that makes no geological sense until you understand that every color is a different mineral at a different temperature at a different depth. In summer, hikers come here to walk the Laugavegur Trail, 55 kilometers through this landscape. Across the lava, through the hot springs, over mountain passes where the ground steams and every footstep sounds different on different ground. In winter, it is completely unreachable, buried under snow, accessible only by snowmobile to those who know exactly where they are going. A place that looks painted, because it is, by 10 million years of volcanic chemistry. Skeleton Coast, Namibia. The San Bushmen called it the land God made in anger. The Portuguese sailors called it the gates of hell. The Namibian government simply named it the Skeleton Coast, for good reason. This 500-kilometer stretch of the Namibian coastline is one of the most dangerous stretches of ocean in the world. Cold Benguela current meets warm tropical air. The result, permanent thick fog for most of the year, day and night. Ships navigating by sight see nothing. They think they are in open water. Then they hit sand. Then the waves pin them, and the fog doesn't lift. And there is no rescue because there is no road. The skeletons are everywhere. Rusting hulls half buried in sand dunes. Some from the 1800s, some from the 1900s, some from recent decades. All in various states of being swallowed by the Namib Desert. The desert claims them slowly. Sand fills the cabins. Dunes bury the bows. Seals colonize the hulls. Until a ship that carried cargo and crew becomes just another feature of a coastline that has been consuming ships for centuries. Brown hyenas patrol the beaches. Black-backed jackals pick through seal colonies. Lions, the skeleton coast lions, the only desert lions on Earth, wander the dunes. Hunting seals, hundreds of kilometers from any water, in a desert. It is one of the most inhospitable places on Earth, and one of the most extraordinary. The bones are real. The ships are real. The lions are real. Plitvice Lakes, Croatia. Most lakes are dug by glaciers, by rivers, by the slow, patient work of water and gravity over millions of years. The Plitvice Lakes built themselves. "16 lakes, connected by waterfalls, each waterfall flowing from one lake to the next. Descending through a valley in a staircase of turquoise water that drops 133 meters from the highest lake to the lowest. The water here is saturated with calcium carbonate. As it flows, it deposits that calcium carbonate on every surface it touches. Mosses, algae, fallen branches, all coated, all slowly turning to stone. This is travertine, the same material as the Colosseum in Rome, as Pamukkale in Turkey, forming here continuously, right now. The barriers between the lakes, the natural dams that hold the water back, are made entirely of this travertine. built by the water itself. Over thousands of years, the water created the barriers. The barriers created the lakes. The lakes feed the waterfalls. The waterfalls build more barriers. The system builds itself and has been building itself for 12,000 years. The color of the water changes with the light, with the season, with the minerals in the water at any given moment. Green, blue, gray, azure, sometimes all in the same lake at the same time. You walk through it on wooden boardwalks suspended above the water, sometimes above the waterfalls themselves, the mist rising from below, the sound of falling water in every direction, fish visible through the surface as if through glass. A place that is still building itself, right now, while you walk through it. Dead Vlei, Sossusvlei, Namibia. The trees died in 1340. The dunes shifted. The river that fed the clay pan was cut off. The water stopped, and the trees, camel thorn acacias, died. And then stayed. 900 years later, they are still standing. Black against the white clay, against the orange dunes, against the blue sky. In the Namib Desert, the oldest desert on Earth, the air is so dry that the dead wood cannot rot. There is no moisture for the bacteria, no moisture for the fungi, nothing to break the wood down. So it stands, 900-year-old skeletons, in a white clay pan called Dead Vlei. Surrounded by the tallest sand dunes in the world, some reaching 300 meters. The contrast is absolute. White clay, black trees, orange dunes, blue sky. 4 colors, nothing else. No gradation, no softness. Each element in its purest form. From above, it looks like a painting, not a landscape. A painting, too stark, too geometric, too perfectly composed to be accidental. But it is accidental. It is geology and climate and a river that changed course 900 years ago. The white clay cracks in perfect patterns under the heat. The black trees cast shadows that move across the white as the sun moves. The dunes shift millimeters per day, pushed by the wind. Everything here is moving. The trees are the only things that stopped 900 years ago and haven't moved since. Pamukkale, Turkey. From a distance, it looks like snow, a white hillside in the middle of a dry Turkish landscape. Get closer, and it looks like ice. Frozen waterfalls, white terraces cascading down the hillside. Touch it, and the water is warm, 36 degrees Celsius, like a bath. In bright blue pools on the edge of a cliff, in the middle of a country where it almost never snows. Pamukkale, Cotton Castle in Turkish, a hillside in the Denizli province of western Turkey where thermal springs have been depositing calcium carbonate for 14,000 years. The water emerges from the ground at 35 degrees, saturated with dissolved calcium carbonate. As it flows down the hillside, exposed to air, the carbon dioxide escapes, and the calcium carbonate crystallizes. Layer after layer, for 14,000 years. The result, 17 kilometers of white terraces, some the size of swimming pools, filled with warm turquoise water. Others dry, pure white stone that looks like snow but feels like smooth ceramic. At the top of the terraces, the ancient city of Hierapolis, a Roman spa city, built 2,000 years ago directly on top of these springs, because even the Romans couldn't resist. The necropolis of Hierapolis is one of the largest ancient cemeteries in the world. 1,200 tombs, over 2 kilometers long. Because people came here sick, and some of them didn't make it back. White terraces, warm water, ancient ruins, and 14,000 years of the earth slowly painting a hillside white. Fagradalsfjall volcano eruption, Iceland. In March 2021, a volcano erupted in Iceland that had been dormant for 800 years. Not a violent eruption, not an explosion. A crack opened in the earth, and lava simply began to pour out. Like a wound, slow and inevitable, glowing orange in the dark, moving at walking pace across the black landscape. And people walked toward it, not running away, walking toward it. Because in Iceland, this is what happens. The population of a country that lives on a volcano treats eruptions as events to attend. They hiked to the eruption site, thousands of them, every day. Standing 50 meters from flowing lava, feeling the heat on their faces, watching the earth being made in real time. This is the thing about lava that photographs don't convey. It is slow. It moves like thick honey. You can watch it advancing centimeter by centimeter. You can see individual rocks being swallowed, individual plants igniting. You can watch the earth growing, because that is what lava is. New land, interior of the Earth reaching the surface, cooling, becoming something solid, something that will still be there in 1,000,000 years. Fagradalsfjall erupted again in 2022, and 2023, and 2024. The volcano woke up and decided to stay awake. The lava field it has created covers 4 square kilometers, all of it new land, land that didn't exist 4 years ago. The Earth making itself while people watch. Iguazu Falls, Argentina/Brazil. Eleanor Roosevelt visited Niagara Falls. Then, she visited Iguazu. Her response, poor Niagara. Iguazu Falls is not one waterfall. It is 275 waterfalls. Spread across 2.7 kilometers of the Iguazu River, where the river drops off the edge of a basalt plateau into a canyon below. Not all at once, in a horseshoe, in a curve. So that when you stand at the center of the horseshoe, the water is falling in front of you, and to your left, and to your right, in every direction. You are surrounded by waterfall. The largest single drop, the Devil's Throat, 82 meters, 150 meters wide. The spray it generates rises 150 meters into the air, permanently, a cloud that never disperses, visible from kilometers away. In the wet season, Iguazu carries more water than any other waterfall system on Earth. More than Victoria Falls, more than Niagara. 12,000 cubic meters per second, every second. The Brazilian side gives you the panoramic view, the entire 2.7 kilometers. Every waterfall at once. The Argentine side puts you inside it, on walkways above the water, on platforms over the edge. At the Devil's Throat, looking directly down into the white chaos. The sound so loud, you can't hear the person standing next to you. Both sides are correct. You need both. To understand what 275 waterfalls falling simultaneously for thousands of years actually looks like from every angle. Chocolate Hills, Philippines. There are 1,776 of them, across 50 square kilometers of Bohol Island in the Philippines. All roughly the same size, all roughly conical, all covered in grass, all turning brown in the dry season, the color of chocolate, giving them their name. (1,776 hills, all the same, from horizon to horizon, as far as you can see, nobody fully understands how they formed. The leading geological theory: they are ancient coral formations, limestone deposits from a time when this area was under the sea. The sea retreated. The limestone was exposed. Rain dissolved the softer parts, left the harder cores. The cores became hills. But that doesn't explain why they are all roughly the same size, why they are so regularly spaced, why the pattern is so consistent across 50 square kilometers. Natural processes don't usually produce this kind of regularity, this kind of repetition, this kind of order. The local legend is simpler. Two giants had a fight. They threw rocks and sand at each other for days, then made peace and left. The piles they left behind became the hills. At sunrise, when the low light hits the hills from the side, the shadows between them make the entire landscape look three-dimensional, like a topographic map come to life. From the air, the regularity is even more striking. Hill after hill after hill, in every direction, perfectly even, perfectly spaced, as if placed. By giants or by geology. Both answers raise more questions than they answer. Zhangye Danxia Rainbow Mountains, China. The first time most people see them, they assume the photograph has been edited. The colors are too many, too saturated, in the wrong places. Red, orange, yellow, green, blue, purple. All in the same mountain, in horizontal stripes, like a painting, not a landscape. They are real. They have never been edited. The Zhangye Danxia in Gansu Province, China, what geologists call red bed geology. Layers of sandstone and minerals deposited over 24 million years as sediment in an ancient lake. Iron oxide, red and orange. Chlorite, green. Manganese, purple. Sulfur, yellow. Each layer a different period, a different mineral, a different color. Then 10 million years ago, the tectonic collision that created the Himalayas lifted and tilted this entire region. The flat horizontal layers became angled, exposed at the surface. And the rain began revealing them. The colors change with the light. At dawn, pale and pastel. At noon, vivid and electric. At sunset, deep and saturated. After rain, every color intensified. Every stripe more defined, more impossible. "14 places, all of them real, all of them on this planet, all of them weighty. A desert that meets an ocean with nothing between them. An island with trees that exist nowhere else. The largest mirror on Earth. A geyser on a schedule. A canyon that catches sunlight like a laser. Mountains painted by 10 million years of chemistry. A coastline of bones and broken ships. Lakes that build themselves. Trees that died 900 years ago and refused to fall. White terraces in the middle of a desert. A volcano you can walk to. A waterfall that surrounds you. Hills that nobody can explain. Mountains of impossible color. The planet is 4.5 billion years old. We have been paying attention for almost none of that time. And this is what we've found so far. Subscribe, because we haven't stopped looking.